Hello, happy Canada Day. So today is Canada Day and I thought I would do a garden tour of the backyard. I did a June one of the front yard and had a moment of quiet, so thought I would share. This here is our side yard and I put in this Bloodgood Japanese maple just to have some more interest from the windows, from my mom's bedroom window, and have some nice color. This one is surrounded by hostas down there because eventually there will be a fence here. So it needs to be shade tolerant planting. And we have some beautiful hostas. This one I had split earlier, that's earlier this season, so it's a little bit smaller. And these two have grown pretty big. I can't recall their names. I know this one is the Proven Winners Water Slide. I think one of them is called Sting, and then one might be Brim, but I'm not really sure. I can't remember anymore. Inside there, between, is a Peachberry Ice Heuchera that is kind of hidden. There is some weeding that needs to get done. And I do have a Wild Rose Heuchera here, which is looking great. That one at least you can see. I had put some cutting edge Heucherella in there, but looks like it's being shrouded by the hostas. So I definitely may want to split these two hostas in the fall. And just swinging down, we have just grass here, and we have this retaining wall bed. So this is just temporary. Eventually this wall will be replaced, but it is my neighbor's wall. So what I've done is I've just put temporary planting in there just because I didn't want to look at basically something really ugly. So I've got echinacea in there. I've got some cosmos, some pink fizz heucherella, some ajuga ground cover. This is a very, very weedy bed, so you can see all of these like horsetail weeds, but yeah, it's a constant battle. But the echinacea are doing really well because it's a really well drained bed. Water just falls right out of it. Down here I have this bright pink azalea that blooms these beautiful blooms. It is out of bloom right now, but it's a nice little shrub that does well there. This is my division from that hosta earlier that I was showing. I'm gonna put some more hostas in here because it is a very wet, shady area, which is also perfect for this willow. So this is a Salix willow that I've put here, which is something that really likes a lot of water. And what happens is water comes out of this and then just washes down here. So it's a very boggy type of area. So the willow is a really good plant for there. Unfortunately, my camellia did not make it. This was a Taylor's Perfection camellia, and rest in peace, camellia. I have another hosta here doing really well. So, you know, when I see that hostas are doing well and willows, I know like I have to put water-loving plants in this area. Moving right along, I have this red twig dogwood, which has been in here a couple years. I haven't pruned it really, and it is doing great. You can see how big it has gotten, and it's got all these buds that are gonna bloom, and they bloom this nice white color. There's some berries on there. Anyways, it is a beautiful shrub. It is great for watery areas. So that's looking really nice. And eventually I think I'm gonna have to prune out some of the older ones just to keep the red color. But yeah, I haven't done that yet. I'll have to make a video when I do that. And again, in this retaining wall bed, I tried to put ground covers just to like choke out the weeds as much as possible. So I've got that ajuga, but unfortunately the creeping buttercup is winning that battle. I've got some lamium here, which I want these two to kind of take over. I've got another pink fizz heucherella, which I really like. They have these really like frothy pink blooms. And next to it, I've got some gray sword lithodaria. This one's looking good. This one, not so much. I kind of dotted that throughout. And the first year, which was last season, the blue color of the lithodaria with the pink of the pink fizz, the blooms, was just like chef's kiss. They were just beautiful together. I popped in a elderberry. This is the black lace elderberry. I popped it in here. It's had one bloom, so you know it's not doing the greatest there, but I just wanted to like kind of have a little bit of a block. Here we have some more echinacea. Isn't that pretty? I don't know. I can't remember the different varieties of echinacea I put in, but I put a lot of echinacea in here just because I knew that there is going to be not much water in here. This is gets neglected a bit. Here I have a weichila behind my rose. That one is trucking along, not doing badly, not doing great. So my dogwood is flanked by these willows. So here's my other willow. So this is a salix willow. This is my second willow here that flanks this dogwood, and the willow's doing really well. I've got a drinking gourd hosta here. So I need to kind of edge and weed this bed, put mulch down, but has escaped me to date. I have another hosta here. I can't remember the type of that. I think it's Queen of the Seas, which I had divided. Here I have a little tiny hosta in there. I can't remember what variety, but I think I did a video on that one. It's getting choked out by the weeds, and the ajuga is just loving it here. This is the Burgundy Glow ajuga. It's making a carpet. I have to kind of weed in here, but yeah, and this one is a drinking gourd hosta. I really like that one, but things do get caught in there, like rose petals fall in there and do get caught. So here's my generous gardener David Austin rose, which I was going to train on this wall, and you can see it doesn't get as much sun as it should, but it is still blooming, so it's doing okay. And the criticism I have of this one is that you can't really cut the flowers. As soon as you really touch the flowers, the petals fall right off. But it looks pretty, so if you just want to look at it from a distance, that's nice. This bed here is basically very wet when it's rainy season. That corner is kind of underwater, so I have to take that into account. I've got a lot of annuals in here this year. But this bed has some astilbe. I think on it might be Bridal Veil, might be Visions, or there's one called Deutschland. Anyways, I have a lot of white astilbe, and you know the varieties have kind of gotten mixed up in my head over time. But I popped those right beside the rose just because I wanted like some kind of hiding of the legs, and also just to have a pop of color there. This hosta has gotten quite big. Here I have a bobo hydrangea, which is a really awesome hydrangea. It is got tons of buds on there, about to bloom. It's a later bloomer, but it looks amazing when it blooms. It has so many, so I really love that one. This little hikra or coral bells here, this one is called Saturn, and you can see it has this little very pale pink flowers on it. This is another type of ajuga. I had only bought Burgundy Glow ajuga to put in my garden, but this one appears to be a different variety that just popped in there or reverted. I'm not sure, but maybe it was mislabeled. So swinging around, I've got a lot of impatiens put in here, and I'm just waiting for them to kind of take off and do their thing. We haven't had a lot of heat yet. So, you know, now that it's July, I'm hoping the heat comes and the sun comes. We've had a pretty cool and wet spring and early summer, but hopefully those will take off when the heat comes. So here we go. We have one, I think this is a pumpkin spice. That's one of my favorites, so I have it all over my garden. Heucherella. I've also just wanted to point out this is a fern, and I like the Japanese painted ferns, but this one is, you know, I did put a lot of ferns in here because I thought they would do well with the wet kind of conditions, but they're coming back kind of sporadically. I also have some anemone. I have a whirlwind white anemone, and I did put in last year some Fall in Love Sweetly, but those ones we'll have to wait and see on. If you look down here, you can see this fern is just barely coming back, you know, and there are slugs in this garden. I probably have to bait for those, but they do a number on some of the plants, like this impatient here. And of course there's horseweed throughout this bed, constant battle. But yeah, hostas seem to be a clear winner on this side of my garden. Another plant that does really well on this side is astilbe. So here I have an astilbe. I think it's the Visions series, and yeah, it looks like a purple color. I can't remember the exact name, but that one looks really great, and I have those this particular color, I liked it so much I have it like kind of in many places in my garden. Here is a dwarf Alberta spruce, and you can see that light green is all of the new growth on there. So that one's doing really well. I really like the kind of Christmas tree shape of, pyramidal shape of that particular plant. I've got a couple other ones of those as well. So here you can see all the Burgundy Glow Ajuga. It bloomed really beautifully in this like purpley, dark purple, I don't know if you'd call it horticultural blue, but purple really, flower, and it was so nice to have that bloom in spring. I do have to come back and cut down the bloom stalks, but I just left them because like they don't look bad, I don't think, so I left them for now. There's that Astilbe peeking out from under my generous gardener. I also have a pulmonaria here. The pulmonaria did really well and it bloomed beautifully. I love that plant. And when it was blooming in early spring, when very, very few plants were blooming, I remember thinking I must get more of that plant and I must spread it out throughout my garden because it is definitely a winner. I had a Brunnera here and that one didn't come back, unfortunately, so Brunnera is not as hardy in my garden as the pulmonaria or lungwort. And you can see this hosta is, I think it's a Francis William. It's got its bloom stalks up, looking really nice. I got a couple other smaller hostas here. So this is the corner that's pretty much underwater, like when it rains. All right, so I'll just give you a shot of, this is the side yard. So you walk down there and we looked at everything to the right here. Looking really nice in July 1st, Canada Day. So I'm just going to swing around to show you that we do have a shed, and I have 2 pots on either side of the shed, and these have white hydrangeas in there, and they're a panicle hydrangea, and they are just a pain in the butt because I don't have irrigation, so when it's hot I have to water these, and sometimes I'm not that good at watering, but anyways, they do have buds on them, so they are really, really pretty when they bloom. And I'll swing around to give you a wide shot of the garden. So here we go. So there's the wide shot, and we'll start with this bed here. So this bed, corner bed, has Glam Girl phlox, which are a very bright, vivid phlox, and they look amazing. I really like that kind of grab your attention type color. This is kind of a part shade bed, and you can see this Astilbe, which I had pointed out before, the Vision series. It is doing wonderfully here. It is just loving life. I find that this particular Astilbe likes kind of this wetter condition, and actually you can put it in more sun than you would think. I did have a sweet box down here. I kept trying sweet box and they kept dying on me. I can't seem to get them to live here because I wanted that scent because they smell so lovely when, you know, that time of year when not much else is blooming. But yeah, it seems to be not really doing so great there. I actually might have put my plants too close in this bed because they've filled out, and yeah, they're pretty crowded, so. But I always like kind of underestimate how big they're gonna get. I have another hosta here, which is a real eye catcher. It's got beautiful purple blooms, and you can see the bloom stalks are starting to form. When it's in bloom, it's really nice, and it kind of fills in this corner really well. And I finally found the right plant for that corner because water would run off and like it would be very wet here, and that hosta seems to do really well there. I do have catmint kind of dotted throughout. That's like this plant here, and it's kind of self-seeded itself around a bit, but it's right here, and it's the Persian blue catmint. And yeah, that seems to be loving life there, which I'm happy about because that's another ground cover. Like you can see how covered the ground is, and I like that because it means less weeding. And this also is a bobo hydrangea. So I love bobos. So I have a lot of bobos in my garden. So you can see like this Astilbe, this bobo is actually also in this garden here. So I've got a bobo here and I've got that Astilbe here. So it kind of gives a sense of continuity, you know, across the sidewalk here by giving some of the same colors, same plants, same texture. Now, one place where I have had not had much luck is this little strip here. So this gets very wet, and I've tried grasses in here, and you can see the result. Like, they just don't really do well. This one seems to be coming back. I cut it back, and but it still doesn't look great. And this one just looks horrible. So I have to figure something out for this little strip. I do run my wheelbarrow over here, so you know, I need to find something that won't block everything and, you know, can handle the kind of wet winter conditions and then the very dry summer conditions. So, you know, maybe I can just rely on annuals and just give up on perennials there. Now, one of my favorite plants right now in the garden are these penstemon. So I have these penstemon, and you can see how beautiful they are. They are a pollinator attractor. I've seen hummingbirds on them. The tall ones here with the paler flower, those are onyx and pearls, and they self-seed, and I love it. I've transplanted some of them, you know, not like crazy self-seeders, but some somewhat self-seeders. Like, I just find little plants around here, and I've self-moved those, and that's a welcome sight. This one that's purple, that is the Proven Winners Midnight Masquerade, which also is beautiful. It's a little bit shorter. It has more of a deeper purple flower, but that's really the only difference I can see. They're awesome plants. I just love how they add that much height to the garden. And this is a part shade area, part sun area, and it still does wonderfully, the penstemon here. I have a cherry truffle zikra, which did not come back very great. You can see it's struggling here, but you know, still hanging on. Behind there I have more astilbe. I find like astilbe is a rock star in my garden because I have a lot of part shade. This is my little brunnera coming back. It's not doing the best. Like I said, brunnera doesn't really do too well in my garden, unfortunately, but I was glad to see that at it anyways. Here I have some more frothy white astilbe, and I put in a lot of this white astilbe just because I wanted to kind of light up this more shaded area. But then when I found that this purple one, I just love having color. I don't know, like really saturated color, so I have a lot of the purple one as well. And then in this little garden bed, the shed bed, I do have these hydrangea, which are actually the little lime punch. So I think I have like 3 of those throughout this little garden bed here. They do have blooms on them, so I can show you up close. You can see they do have blooms. Sun for them because they are not in full sun, and you know, I think they might do better in full sun. But in any event, they have blooms, and they're doing what they need to do for now, so I'm gonna leave them and give them a chance to see how they do. This is another dwarf Alberta spruce. I put that in there later, so it's not the same size, and like the sidewalk doesn't go to the middle of the shed, so there's no, like, I'm not trying to get symmetry here, so that's okay. And I had popped in some annuals here. I've got the Racapulco double impatiens, which aren't doing that great, but you know, like I said, it's been wet and rainy and not a lot of sun, so hopefully they will pick up. Got this endless illumination browalia, which is hopefully also going to pick up. Again, here we have our astilbe, frothy white astilbe, which is doing great. I've got my Francis William hosta there, which is just like, it was put in as a small plant, so hopefully that will pick up. I got my clearance Invincible Ruby, which I popped here, and then after I thought maybe that's not enough sun, but I'm going to try it there and see how it does, and I might have to move it. I have some Jacob's Ladder hidden under here. And this frothy plant here is Lady's Mantle, or Alchemilla mollis, and it's blooming this chartreusey yellow color. It's I just let it go to put a seed. I want it to spread out. I don't mind having it seed itself. So that's a really nice color. Just super frothy, blousy, feminine, just like a light touch. It's really nice. And then behind it, I've got this astilbe, which doesn't do as good as my Visions one. It's a different variety, but I might actually move it because I thought it was purple, but it's more of a red. In any event, that's one to keep my eye on. I have another Jacob's Ladder, another little lime punch, and then here I just popped in a pink cashmere verbena because I had an extra one and I had an extra spot, so just to fill that in. Behind my little lime punch, I have a fern poking out of there. You can see. So I would have expected it to be bigger by now, but anyways, it is there, and hopefully it gets bigger. And I think this is the cutting edge Tiarella. There's a little bit of sedum in there as well. That's coming from here. This is another Visions Astilbe. And I do have some pincushion flower here, and I love pincushion flower, so I pop it in everywhere I can because it is a short-lived perennial. So isn't that a beautiful color? I just love that one. I do have a pot here with a Limelight Prime, and I had just put that in that pot temporarily because I wasn't sure where to put that Limelight Prime. So it's the second season in that pot, and you can see it has blooms on it, and I'm still not sure where to put it. And I'm surprised it has blooms because it is in a more shady area. I've got some Angelina sedum in there that's like starting to bloom down there. Here we have Winecraft Black Smoke Bush, and you can see the frothy little quote-unquote smoke bush part. It's really pretty, and you know, I put it in this more shadier space and it doesn't get huge, but I kind of like that. I want it to stay more small, so I did that on purpose in a less sunny, more shady area so it kind of stays compact. Behind it I have some more Alchemilla, some Bleeding Heart. This whole section was glorious last year, but a lot of stuff didn't come back, unfortunately, so I had to replant. I lost some of my pumpkin spice heuchera, I lost brunnera, and I had some of this Dusty Miller, and some of it's self-seeded and is starting to grow back, but yeah, they were big plants there and they didn't make it through the winter this year. So I did pop in this year some Jacob's Ladder. There is a hosta back there. There's some, like that's one of my puny little pumpkin spice heuchera that came back kind of pathetically. I think this is a pear tree. I think it steals a lot of water, so that could be part of the issue. I do have a small pulmonaria here, and you can see it doesn't do as well as my other ones. But on the bright side, my Francis William hosta is doing great. Behind it is a fern. I do have an Astilbe back here as well, and there's a hellebore I put in this year. This is my shade garden, which I just kind of installed very recently, last week, and it has all shade plants. I'm hoping to clean this area up because it is kind of a dumping ground area and you can't see it from the house, but hopefully I can clean it up, mulch it, make it look really nice with nice plants. I put some ground cover in there, and I'm hoping just to make that a really nice secret area where you turn the corner and go wow, because you don't expect anything there. All right, and swinging along the back of the yard, this is the back fence garden bed. What we have here is a work in progress, basically. But here I'll do a wide shot. So I have a lilac, Miss Kim lilac here, and over on that side, right there. So that's kind of two plants that are symmetrical, but I didn't really want symmetry. So that's about it. That's the only thing that's kind of symmetrical. Then my blue fescue grass didn't survive the winter, so I've got to pull that out. But what I've got in this bed is I've got a lot of sedum, which is more for ground cover purposes. I've put some annuals in here just for a pop of color. Those are the impatiens. I've got a mahogany monster because I did find that red really stands out, like from far away. Like that was the red stuff was what drew your attention immediately. So I definitely added some more red. So I've got a mahogany monster here and another one there. I've also got a Autumn Joy sedum, which has got all its buds on there and it's ready to bloom. I did split that and put some here, so I'm definitely going to keep spreading that throughout the garden. Let's see, moving along, we have this salvia, which is a pink one. I definitely have to move that because it just doesn't get enough sun. We have a cherry tree, we have an apple tree, we have a pear tree and a plum tree all along this back fence, which it kind of shades it out, so it's not in its best location. So I do have to relocate that. I just haven't done it yet because it does bloom. But yeah, it's not living its best life, so we got to change that. I did add this black pearl heuchera here because this one is doing amazing, and I love those blooms. Like, let me show you. Those see-through frothy blooms on that black pearl heuchera are so lovely. So I love this heuchera. Like, I have tried so many more of these, but you can see this one just didn't. I don't know why. It's only like 2 feet away from the other one, but this one, I don't know. You know, it happens sometimes with plants. That one just didn't make it. This one's thriving. So who knows? I've got a little carex here that's struggling. And I did throw a coleus back here just for that pop of red. It's an annual. So this back bed needs a lot of work. Like there's lots of weeding back here that needs to get done. I just, you know, haven't been able to stay on top of that. Back here I've got some dusty millers, so that one did come back. You know, some of them did, some of them didn't. And moving along, I tried to lighten up the shade area by putting in these like chartreusey colored, brighter colors, but they just, you can see, like they just don't do well here. In most of my garden, they scorch or they don't come back. They just seem to me much weaker than the dark ones. You can see one here, it's really small. And actually, like, you know, from a distance, it doesn't add that much of a brightness. So not too impressed with those ones. I do have a carnival cocoa mint, and that's this one here. And I've got another one hiding back there. And those are really beautiful plants, but I think they're best seen up close. So they kind of disappear in the back when you're looking from far away, because you're looking at this garden usually from far away. So that you don't really appreciate how beautiful they are. So I may relocate them so they can be appreciated a little bit more. Whereas the mahogany monster really grabs your attention from far away. It's looking amazing, so I gotta maybe put more of those in instead. Here you can see my little Dusty Miller nursery. All of these are self-seeded, so I'm letting them kind of grow up. Rest in peace, blue fescue grass. So that one's a goner. And some lovely weeds. I totally can't remember what this plant is, but it is on the other side as well. So I think it might be an aster, a fall blooming purple aster. I did have hellebores that I put in this bed, and none of them came back, which is super annoying because they were the expensive, like $25, $30 ones. And yeah, disappointed to say the least. I do have this, I think it's a lily. It's just, I don't know how it ended up here, but anyways, I think it's too shady for it, but I'm not a fan of lilies, but they are kind of in my garden in some places. And because this is under a tree, it's a very shady area. It doesn't get water. I did put some hen and chicks in here last year. So you can see this one looks like it's gonna bloom soon. That's pretty cool. And there's another cluster here. Looks like that's all that came back. And then I have some poppies that just were self-seeded, no doubt from the birds, but they're beautiful and I'm not complaining. Pretty sure they're from my neighbor who has a patch of poppies. All right, so now we're in this corner of the yard and I will show you, this is supposed to be a garden where I was smothering the weeds with cardboard, and I didn't put compost on top. I didn't get around to it. And anyways, it didn't break down and the weeds are still there. So this is something I want to work on this summer, is I want to get this properly edged on the back. I want to get it composted just to give it some more nutrients, because this garden is on a slope, so a lot of water runs off down here. So yeah, definitely have to get weeding done. But, you know, there's still some pretty things in here. For example, these two are limettas. So they are a smooth hydrangea, an arborescens hydrangea, and it's one that I really love. So they are just covered in blooms, and they start off this limey color here, chartreusey, and they go to this more like whiter color. Really pretty, so pretty, and I'm so glad that both of them have been surviving. I have Amsonia next to these two. In the back, I've got this Miss Sayori hydrangea, which is a beautiful hydrangea, just stunning in bloom. Let's see, what else do I have here? I do have some phlox of that Glam Girl phlox, which I transplanted a seedling here because I just thought that Glam Girl phlox is so beautiful, it's so vibrant, so lovely. I've got some salvia on the front, and I think this is Violet Riot, I believe. I did have, so this is a banana cream daisy, just the first one, not the improved version, and only one came back. I think I had 3 of them. Only one came back, unfortunately, so, you know, the symmetry is kind of off. I also have some peonies in here. So a couple of peonies, which are young plants. They didn't bloom this year, but I had other peonies that did. So I'm sure if I give it time, they will come back. So yes, this garden bed definitely needs some work. And actually I didn't really want to even do a garden tour because I didn't want to show this, but I'm showing you the good, the bad, the ugly, and yeah, we do what we can, right? And I just popped this annual in there for a pop of color. It's a Supertunia. I think it's Paradise. So pretty. But all right, and I also popped some dahlias in here as well. So I'm just gonna swing back around to show. This is my long border here. So along the back is my long border that goes all along the fence. Well, there was a fence here, it blew down, and we can't replace it because my neighbors, if you step down there, there's a big garden. They have their big vegetable garden there. And to do work, you have to do it on that side because it's lower. So anyways, long story short, there's no fence there yet. So at some point there will be, but we have to fix the wall first, and that won't happen while their garden is growing there. So let me show you what I mean without intruding too much on my neighbors. There was a wedding party over here yesterday, so hence the tent. But yeah, so you can see this is my neighbors, and there's the peonies, or the poppies, where I'm sure my seeds came from. But yes, there's this fence down, or this wall here that's really old, and we don't want to put a fence on a rotting wall, but we can't do work because the garden's here. Anyways, long story short, they enjoy my garden, I enjoy looking at their garden, so it's not a problem. And this whole bed has, this is the black pearl heuchera here. There is some rose campion dotted throughout. This is my lavender. So this one is pretty huge. There was some roses in this bed that were here for years, and they obviously didn't make it this winter, unfortunately, sad to say. But it just gives me opportunity to put something else, so that's okay. And I did, this one is really weedy, but yeah, there's some rose campion in here. I put this, there's a cat's pajama nepeta. This is verbena, and this is a new addition. I really hope this sells seeds everywhere. I've got an Amsonia, got a tomato here. So you can see how pathetic our little tomato is because we haven't had sun, unfortunately. Swinging around, this is a Midnight Wine Shine, Weigela, and it's only been in a year, but not impressed because it doesn't have really a lot of blooms on it. At least this year it didn't, but I'm gonna give it a chance, and if it doesn't smarten up, it's out of here. This Nepeta is doing really well. That's the cat's pajamas. I've got a dahlia here. I've got a black crim tomato. I've kind of dotted the tomatoes kind of in this bed as well. This is another tomato. I popped in some Gara. So this is the Belleza white, and I have 3 of them kind of in a triangle shape here. And you can see that this is a rose campion that bloomed white instead of the traditional red fuchsia color. So moving right along, I've got this bee balm, which I think is Pardon My Cerise, or Pardon My Pink, but I think it looks really good there because this Gara. All right, so it's the next day, early morning, and basically yesterday my phone battery died, so I couldn't continue with the video, and then it was late, so it was too dark. But anyways, that explains the different lighting situation. But we are in the long border here talking about this beautiful Gara, Belleza white, and I was saying how the Monarda bee balm, the pink, Pardon My Pink, I think it is, how it really picks up the color in this Gara, because this Gara has pink in it as well as white, so that's a really nice look there. And just stepping back here, I have an Invincible Ruby. This is the second one I bought. Actually, I have another one that I bought on clearance on the other side, and I'm just kind of putting it in different places to see where I want to put it, because I do want to try this one in full sun, so we'll see how that goes. And this is my second verbena. So I think this one was Cloud 8. It's a different variety than the other one. It's shorter. But yeah, I really hope that it reseeds itself everywhere. On this trellis here, I have purchased a black-eyed Susan vine. And the difference is usually these are like, I've seen coconut appeal, which is a proven winner's white one. I've seen a lemon appeal, which is a yellow one, and an orange appeal, which is orange. But I rarely ever see these pink ones. So I got this pink one from my local nursery, and you can see how it's starting to wind its way up on the trellis. So I think that's going to take off once we get the heat. So, you know, we haven't gotten the heat, so things haven't taken off yet, but that is to come. Stepping back here, I've got one of my tomatoes popped in there, another rose campion white, and then this whole vignette here. So this is supposed to be a Zephyrine Druin rose. So I'm not sure if it is because it reads more red than pink, but in any event, that's what it's supposed to be. That's a Zephyrine Druin, and I have a triangle of Bobo hydrangeas, so 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm seeing that I have to probably bump this one out a bit, but yeah, again, I planted too closely. And then I've got some Cat's Pajamas Nepeta kind of dotted throughout, and I've got some Rose Campion on either side. So I think that will look really nice when it fills out. And turning over here, I do have some calendula that's self-seeded itself. This is the Gold Heart Orange variety. And that is basically an aphid trap. So this bed here is kind of our edibles bed. So this is where our strawberries are. Some of my mom's herbs are in there. You can see there's some clover, so some weeds have taken over some spots there. But basically, yeah, I don't really even get a lot of the strawberries out of here, to be honest, because yeah, they get taken by the birds before I even get them. Anyways, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna keep strawberries in here because of that. And the birds are also eating our cherries, which I don't mind because the cherry tree is really tall. So I'll just show you, this is our cherry tree, and there's cherries all along the top, and the birds have been snacking on them. I saw a raven knock some of them down the other day, and those cherries are tart anyways, so yeah, the birds are welcome to them. But I would ideally like to get some strawberries. Anyways, moving along past the edible bed, that one is there because it's more sun. It's like basically full sun. Here we have what I believe is a self-seeded butterfly bush. So we had taken out one of the old-fashioned butterfly bushes that had been here for a few years. It was kind of a beast to get out, and I believe it just self-seeded itself here, which is interesting because we've had that for years and it's the first time it's ever done that. So yeah, it's getting pretty big. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with that, so I'm just letting it go for now. It's right in the middle of the edible bed. And then there's some more of that calendula, which is that bright orange. Here we have some more Cat's Pajamas, tomato that's doing really badly, some Storm Cloud Amsonia, the Pardon My Pink, Monarda, and I've got a Baby Kim Lilac. Here we have what's basically, there is a trellis under there, and it's like a 3-sided trellis, and basically there's 3 different clematis on there, and they have just taken over. So yes, I know one is the Proven Winners variety, which blooms later. One of them has already bloomed. Yeah, it's kind of looks like Cousin It here. And below we have another Baby Kim Lilac, which is done blooming. There's a lot of weeds, but yeah, this corner is back there. We have a Limelight, I believe. And what I did have on both sides was Pugster Blue Butterfly Bush. And those, none of them anywhere on my property have come back. So you can see that's what they look like, and it's July, so I'm pretty sure I can give up on those now. There's no hope of them coming back. Yeah, so Pugster Blue, like, I don't know, I had like maybe 6 of them at least, and none of them have come back, so very disappointing. And in front I've got some peonies, and I did put some ground cover ajuga down there just because the weeds are kind of out of control in this area. This area needs a lot of work. There's an allium in there as well, I believe I also have a balloon flower. Balloon flowers are super cool, so I've got one of those in there too. Swinging over here, I do have a little clematis here, which I thought had died, but looks like it's making a little bit of a comeback on this little trellis here. We have the beautiful pincushion flower, which I love. There's a rose campion behind there with a beautiful weed that I have to get to before it blooms. Here is some more allium. I think these are either millennial allium or serendipity. Can't remember which one. But here is my echinacea, which have buds on them, so that's exciting. Some more of the cat's pajamas, baby Kim repeated, more echinacea, pincushion flower. I have a little frilly heuchera, which I really like, but they do struggle in my garden. But I've got that one there. I think this is a peachberry ice. More ajuga, and then just along the line, I have, so I've put, there's a delphinium here, which didn't do a good job staking, not looking that great. More peony, a pugster blue, which didn't make it. So, you know, for me, pugster blues are a complete fail. Really sad because big waste of money. And more peonies. This is an area that the ground cover ajuga has done really well in. There's some alliums in the front. I did have some bee balm in there. I don't know if it's gonna come back because I don't see anything, but well, actually, there it is. Right here. That might take a little while to come back. This is a beautiful clematis. It's gone all the way to the top. It is called Viva Polonia. It's a Pruin Winners type, and it has beautiful large blooms on it. Highly recommend. Another pugster blue, which didn't survive. I've got a little hydrangea in here, which I think is the mountain hydrangea tough stuff. It's a little bit crowded in there. And then I've got stilby, peonies, Alchemilla mollis or lady's mantle. I've got a hosta, and then more astilbe. And the astilbe in the winter, it's like nothing there. It just looks like a blank space, and then it just fills in beautifully. So I'll just give you a closer look. Going back a little bit, I wanted to show this lilac on standard tree, which is leaning. Unfortunately, it is doing really well. It's put on so much new growth, and throughout it is a vagabond clematis, which is an amazing clematis. It's one of my favorites. It has such vivid purple blooms, and it's been blooming for a long time. You can see it's all over, top to bottom, which I really like. And here I have my hydrangea lane. So I have some of the older variety hydrangeas at the back, and then I kind of extended it. So I have hydrangea love, and I've got one that's either peacock or zebra, or onyx, the one that with black stems. I've also got this one is a quick fire fab, I believe. And I've got a little lime at the very end here. Little lime, and the name is escaping me on this one, but yeah, let me just give you a closer look on all of these. There's a little blue cornflower self-seeded, which I let go. They self-seed themselves here and there, which I think they're so cute, so I let them go. So little lime, peony, I think that's a mahogany monster back there. Peony, ground cover ajuga, quick fire fab, mahogany monster, peony, peachberry ice, peony. just coming around the front here, I've got this boxwood in a pot, which this is the first year. It doesn't look that great. It looks like it's orangey bronze. Hoping it would recover, but I don't know. So I'll leave it for now. Here I've got that Glam Girl Phlox, which is doing great. I did pull a lot of the seedlings out of here and transplanted them. On this little pillar here, I've got a Sweet Autumn Clematis. Just starting to make its way up. It's made it halfway up. And this one will bloom in September. And it's covered in little tiny white blooms. We'll just help it along there. And then my hope is that it will make it all the way up to the top. I didn't have this last year. I only had it up to here and it was starting to topple over. So hopefully that will solve that. And just along the front of the yard here, I've got some 3 little round circles of garden, which include boxwoods, a stilby, some liatris, some hosta, little pulmonaria back here. There is also some dwarf goat's beard. Here we have some Jacob's ladder. There's the dwarf goat's beard back there. There's a little bit of a heuchera in there. This one's doing really nicely. I like the contrast of the purple and the white on the Jacob's ladder. Back there is the dwarf goat's beard. This pulmonaria did really well. I probably have to bump it out a bit. And this is my last little circle. This one has cat's mint, which is kind of hopped over, reseeded itself here. We've got some pulmonaria, which did amazing. I want to split that one. There's another hosta, peachberry ice, Jacob's ladder, and then I think this is a wild rose or wild berry. Those two I always get mixed up because they look so similar. But anyways, so that's that. And my neighbors were having a party, a wedding, so. And then the last but not least is my circle garden, which I need to edge, but I've got a Gertrude Jekyll rose in here, which has basically completed its first flush. So I gotta cut it back and then give it some fertilizer and hope for a rebloom. But it's flanked by 2 Illuminati Mark Orange on both sides. So that's this one here, this tall green one. I do have some Guernsey Cream Clematis, which blooms earlier in the season before the rose is in bloom, with big white blooms. Let's see, I've got some pincushion flower I've popped in on both sides this year. There's some self-seeded catmint in there. I've got some Snow Crystals Alyssum dotted all through the front. I think I put some Laguna Sky lobelia on either side, which isn't blooming yet. I also popped in some pink cashmere verbena, superbena, just to have that pop of color when the rose is out of bloom. And in the front here, this dark foliage is Miss Sayori hydrangea, which has beautiful blooms. I did transplant it here and hopefully it'll bloom. I'm planning on putting these 2 dahlias in. It's really late to get these in, but I'm behind. And then these, I believe, are the Mystic Spires Blue Salvia, which have put on a lot of growth. I just got them in little pots and I'm hoping they will return for me. It's hard to say because this is a pretty boggy area and it's not really well drained, so it's hard to say. I might just have to stick with annuals for this garden every year. And coming around, so this is the other Illuminati Mock Orange, and kind of the rosebush leans this way, so it's encroaching on that, so I might have to bump this out a bit. And swinging around to the other side, on this side I have a peony, which looks like it needs to also be bumped out. It's being crowded out. This rose is kind of a beast. I have a Bumble Snow Salvia. There's another one back there. So I actually had 3, but only 2 survived. And coming around, you can see that blue cornflower again, which self-seeded, which I let go. Just a nice little pop of color in there. And just like the front, there's a Miss Sari hydrangea. There's one back here. This one, I haven't transplanted. That one I did, so it's smaller. But I obviously need to bump this one out because it's getting just swallowed up by that rose. And there's another peony there. Yeah, so, oh, here we go. Here's my blooming pincushion flower. I think that one is butterfly blue. All right, so there we go. That is the back garden tour for, yesterday was Canada Day, so we'll call it the Canada Day garden tour. And let me show you my so pretty. So yes, my garden is a complete work in progress and there's lots to do. And yeah, edging, mulching, fertilizing, putting compost down, finishing off garden beds. So much work to do. And you know, it is what it is. My goal is try to get all my plants that are in pots in the ground as soon as possible. Because it is July already, but time just slips away from you. And yes, I'm definitely not a professional. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to put up a garden tour of the back because it is such a work in progress. So yeah, hopefully, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, I'm proud of it. It is something that I did and everything to me looks beautiful. You know, even though it needs work, it's not perfect. Yeah, I'm just happy I was able to enjoy all these beautiful blooms because there is still beauty in it. So don't feel discouraged if your garden is not done, has weeds, needs a lot of work, because it's okay. You know, I'm putting my messy, unfinished garden on the internet for the whole world to see, so it's a pretty vulnerable position, but it's good for me to see it now because I can then compare it to how it will be in the future. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that.